Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome in to Swish for Real. It's your boy Big Mike and my co-host Boogey Bob. Boogie, what's going on with you, man?
Yo, yo, yo. We're going to get some sunshine, have some hot weather, then we're going to have some cold weather, then go straight to summer 100 degree. That's Texas weather for you.
You ain't lying. Texas is something else. If you ain't been here, you need to get here fast because you got every season
At,
here in
at
Texas.
least we don't have California seasons, earthquake, fire, flood, mudslide.
You ain't got to do California like that, man. They got a beautiful state. And our other guy, man, we might well just call him a co-host because he's coming on when we need him. And he's one of the co-hosts or the main host of the Fire Session. Y'all have seen him before, guys. It's Big Ken in the building. What's up, Ken?
What's up? What's up? Y'all talking about the weather. I always laugh this time of year. I said, if you from Dallas or you've been around Dallas before, Dallas used to be known for guys wearing leather shorts. I guess this is the perfect time to wear leather shorts because it's hot. It's hot some days and cold some days. So you fall in between, so you can wear your leather shorts now, guys.
Now I don't
Yeah,
know a lot of people seen Eddie Murphy back in the day. He had them leather pants.
we got 9 months of summer and then 3 months of fall, winter, spring, but not in order.
Nah,
That's a
facts.
fact.
Facts. So this past week, and I'm gonna particularly say Saturday, a friend of mine hits me up with a text message. It was almost like the middle of the night. I'm looking at the text message. I'm like, oh hell, that can't be right. And I had to call this guy, and his name is Ken. And I was like, is this real? And he was like, yeah, bro, it's real. And what I'm talking about is Luka Doncic got traded to the LA Lakers. And I know this has already hit the internet and set the world on fire when it comes to the NBA. But I don't know what prompted him to do that. But the first thing we're going to talk about is when he faces back off against Dallas. And I'm going to talk to you first, Boogie Bob. How many points do you think Luka's going to score against Dallas? I mean, it could be an astronomical number because you know how people are when they want to exact revenge on a team that traded them when it's unjust in their eyes. But what are your thoughts on what his point total is going to be?
Well, first of all, I want to tag on to what you said. Like, I went to bed early Saturday and I got up in the morning. And I usually check my text messages, and I'm like, "What the hell's all these text messages that I got?" I'm like, I get a grr and then a this, and then about the fourth one is, I have immediately went to ESPN. I'm like, "What the heck?" to to tell you how, I mean, Mavericks fans got their heart ripped out at the seams. But to tell you how big, national news yesterday was still talking about it, and there's a Super Bowl going on. They didn't even
Mm,
start talking about the Super Bowl on the radio or even nationally until today. That's how surprising it was. Uh, he's going to score 80.
so he's going to surpass the 73 he did against Atlanta and hit Dallas with 80.
Yeah, he's going to hit 80 because and I made these notes. Pissed off Luka is a monster, and Luka will bark a lot when he scores, and he'll probably his famous saying that they had. That's what I effing do.
The only thing I could say about that is like when you look at him right now in LA, he is it to me it feels like he's miserable. Like he's not happy there at all. But that could just
Yeah,
be
he had. I don't know if you saw the WFAA special yesterday. If not, go on Roku and add WFA. They did a 30-minute special, and they had someone that read body language, and they said that he was grieving, and from his body language, he was grieving and he's deeply
Mhm.
hurt. Like he feels like all the Mavs fans feels. He feels like he was betrayed.
Yeah.
But 80, I don't know. I'd like to see what the Vegas over under number is.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have him at least about 40. Ken, your thoughts on this, man? How much will Luka score against the Mavericks when he face off against them again? Well, for the
Li-
first time.
Listen, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. I'm one of those people who people say I'm peculiar when it comes to my sports takes because even though I'm from Dallas, I'm not a homer per se. I'm a realist, and in my eyes, I see him getting 20 to 25, no more than that, because simply because he's a great scorer. But if nobody else knows him, the Dallas Mavericks know him, so they
Facts.
know his tendencies and they know his weaknesses. And also, you gotta look at Dallas's makeup now as far as their roster. They're probably the best defensive team, top to bottom, in the league, per player. So I don't see anybody coming in, scoring an astronomical amount of points against the Mavericks, especially if they're healthy. I just don't see it. So I mean, like I said, I give him close to his average, maybe 20, 25, 30 tops. But I don't see him scoring any more than that because of the simple fact of those two factors. They know him well and they have the defenders to throw at him.
Now, I can agree with that because I'm thinking he may top out at 30, but he doesn't have that same vitriol that you would have for a team that you really didn't like in the beginning. But he's still a math homer at heart. You know what I mean? You can tell how he's, like I said, what Bob said, the body language shows it all, especially in the pictures that I've been seeing with him. Like the last picture I got, and I posted it on our YouTube channel with him hugging LeBron, and he's like, it's like, I really don't like you like that, bro. I was a fan of you when I was a kid, but when I got here, it's a whole different story. I think he looks at LeBron differently. You know what I mean? He doesn't look at him like that hero like he did when he was a kid. Even though he probably still respect LeBron in general, but as far as that wanting to kind of worship him in a sense, he doesn't have that anymore because now he knows he's just as good as LeBron. You know what I mean? And I think when he plays us, it's going to be one of those. He's going to get about 30 in my opinion, but it's not going to be one of those vitriol where you want to stick it to him. He's not going to feel like that. He's going to feel like I'm going to get put on a good show, and I ain't going to shout at the bench, because the bench ain't the problem. He already know what the problem is. The problem is Nico.
Yep.
Nico and the ownership, and they're not going to be there for the most part because, as you all have heard, the security is going to be tight, and they're telling Nico not to come to the games because there's been threats on his life.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
I mean, I can't say that's rightfully so, but I don't see him getting
I have
no more than 30.
I have something I can add to that. Just last week, I ordered a couple jackets after being season ticket holder for 25 years. And so you get one, and I said, if you have any leftovers, would like to buy one. So
Mhm.
they set one from Wild Dog and me aside, and they're like, well, just come to the office. And there's 3 different gates into that facility. They were closed and locked. I had to go all the way to Echo Lounge, which is right next door, to even get into the parking lot. And the person come in front of me, it wasn't just a regular, like, you pulled the door and opened. They entered some, you know, numbers, and then they opened. So I tailgated and went in, and I mean, I wasn't even 1 foot in the door, and there was a security guard on top of me immediately. And
Dang.
then there was 3 more that joined, one that was behind at the monitor, his boss. So there were 4 security guards surrounding me. I said, well, I'm here to pick up something. And they're like, who you here to see? I said, Spencer. And a 5th security guard comes through, and he's a lot taller. So he must have been like the main boss. And
Mm.
he took one look at me, and I guess he recognized me because he's giving this sign to the other 4 guys. But they watched me the whole time I was in that little bitty lobby. And I got thinking about it afterwards. It's like, whoa, okay. One security guard on that premises, there's probably been some threats, but yeah, even in his own office, is like, that's not something you hear. But I like, Ken, I like what you said. if you remember on the run last year, Kyrie said, I want to guard James Harden. And that's because he knew what James Harden's tendencies were. So, I mean, there's merit to that. And Joe Trahan on the show last night said, we looked at Luka and he was an assassin. He called him an assassin. And he said he's only seen a couple players that were like that. LeBron loves him, but like you said, he's not a kid. And I mean, they may just feed him the ball and let him take 80 shots,
They might just do that. So, Wild Dog, welcome in. You're on mute, man. So, if you want to say a couple of words, we got to hear you first. There you go. Oh, man. Fire Nico. Oh, Lord.
Get him out of here. Get him out.
See, that's why I was on mute. That's why I was on mute.
Hey, I ain't mad at you. You can tell him flash it one more time. We'll make sure it posts.
I'm bringing it to the game tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Fire Nico. Oh, man.
Well, just don't start to 10. Nico sucks. Just say Nico must go.
Nico gotta go.
Gotcha. Appreciate you, Jet.
Wild Dog, now this will be the first time that you break your rule of never booing a player like other fans.
Yeah, man.
I feel bad for AD though, because it's not his fault that he got traded. But I know as a Mavs fan, as soon as one person starts booing at him, I know I'm gonna start booing at him. But I don't
think they're gonna actually boo AD though.
I can send you the link to your Chromebook so you can log in. You can come on the stream if you want.
Nah, I'm chill.
You can say it.
You sure?
Get Nico here. Get Nico out here.
All right,
Jet is what they can't. They got a new term, and it fits Jet. LFFL.
There it is.
Luka fan for life.
I'm chilling.
15 going on 19. That's what I'm dealing with.
Oh, nice. So we're actually talking about how many points will Luka score against the Mavericks when they face off. And Wild Dog, Ken said about 25. Bob said 80. I said like 30. What are your opinions as far as what he will score when he face off against his former team?
I mean, I'd be like minimum 30 point triple double. LeBron is not. If LeBron is been all these years a good teammate, he's not gonna let that fuel go to waste. So it's gonna be his, minimum ultimate was a 30-point triple double is what I would expect from Luka against us.
So you think LeBron's gonna force feed the ball to Luka?
Oh yes. LeBron's probably gonna have 15 assists. It's go. Yeah. It's and feed all his energy through Luka. So it's there's going to be an opportunity for everyone, especially LeBron, to see what Luka's really made of. And I'm familiar with the country. I'm familiar with the region. And if you notice, Luka has a Siberian tiger tattoo. Do you realize culturally they have to earn that? You just can't make stuff up. You just can't put things on your body. He had to earn that, and it's through his father. And then, and then confirmation for him to have that tattoo. So we've seen Luka, have some swagger, bow up, you know what I'm saying? Have some intensity. And we pretty much going to see the is this the word I'm looking for? The epiphany of that. And LeBron James is going to do everything he can to be sure of it.
So technically, it's the passing of the torch when it comes to Luka and LeBron, and Luka actually being, because we had a conversation earlier, one of my coworkers today, and it's like the NBA needed something to boost up their ratings, basically. And if you do anything this spectacular, you are definitely going to get the ratings that you're needing because everybody's talking about it. There's people too passionate about it. And the only problem I had is that they had to do it to my team. Right. Why you couldn't have traded like SGA to the Lakers or something like that?
I mean, there's conspiracy theories galore, and the most prevalent one, which we'll talk about later. But I thought today, I was like, or when I was trying to go to bed last night, I'm like, I wonder if this is the league orchestrated this.
I think so too. You need a European guy as the face of the league now.
Yeah, I'm
They're
like, did
the
Adam Silver just kind of inconsequentially like drop a hint,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, because he's no longer eligible for a super max contract. That's that's like $140 million loss. But I don't know, that's a conspiracy I hadn't heard yet. But I was thinking, they got the Knicks, they got Ewing to the Knicks. They got Shaq to L.A. Then they got Dwight Howard to L.A. You know, uh, they'd love to see the Lakers and Celtics play every year as far as ratings go. So I'm like, maybe the league, maybe a couple subtle hints were dropped, and
No, I don't think so. But I mean, but think historically, this is the fingerprint. This is what the Lakers do. This is what they've done. You've mentioned it. Just this is what they've always done. And then what the league has done is simply said, this is who the Lakers are. It's money for them. It's money for us. We're not going to get in their way, right? Mm. So even when there's been kind of suspicious or suspect trades, the lead is, made a way to smooth it out on behalf of the Lakers.
There's only one exception. There's only one exception, was the CP3 trade, and the only reason David Stern or Silver, the only reason they rejected is New Orleans was in bankruptcy, and so the NBA owned the New Orleans team, and that was the only reason they could reject that trade.
That is correct. And trades is like, there's been some good ones and some bad ones. And I'm going to ask you this question, Ken. Is Luka and the AD trade the worst trade that you have witnessed, or it has, it's something worse than this one?
Not by far. It's been far worse trades, because people look at the Luka thing, and again, I'm not a Luka fan. I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. It's a difference. I've never been a fan of any player. I'm a fan of who puts on my jersey, who rocks for my squad. I don't care about if players get traded. In the words of what's the movie? Dang, I forgot the name of the movie right off my head. But hey, I mean, it happens. It's part of the game. It's professional sports. It's a business first. It's gonna happen, and it's not like we gave Luka away and didn't get anything back, right? We got a guy in AD who people, go back and forth about his health, but right now, this season, he's been balling.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about some random guy. You're talking about an all-star, a guy who's currently an all-star, a guy who currently is going to be a big part of what we do on both sides of the ball. He's a rare two-way player. So when we were talking about Luka earlier and how many points he would score against the Mavericks, but how many points is he going to give up is the other side of that. That's part of the issue. That the argument that was going back and forth was, okay, he's a spectacular scorer with the ball, but what does he do on the other end? You know what I'm saying? And in a league where a lot of these guys don't play defense, for me, I look at that. I look at if this guy's going to give you 40, but he gave up 40, that don't mean a lot to me.
So let me ask you this question: the Max Christie trade versus Quentin Grimes, are they comparable, or you think Max Christie has a bigger upside than Quentin Grimes?
I personally, from watching the two, I think Max Christie has a bigger upside to me, just watching the two, and that's just as a basketball fan. Again, not looking at this guy played for us and this guy came from this place. Just as players, that's what I see.
So here, and I'm one last one, and I'm gonna take it back to maybe the mid '90s. The trade for Charles Barkley going to the Houston Rockets, was that a bad trade in your opinion?
I don't quite remember that trade, because when I did my research and looked at the worst trades in NBA history, that wasn't on the list. So there was far worse trades that occurred, atrocities that occurred. So I don't quite remember that one, but I do have some notes for some other ones that were terrible. They were way worse than this Luka and AD trade.
All right, let's hear your notes, man. I want to see what you got.
All right, so for me, the worst trades in NBA history, number one on the list is Kobe and Vlade.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. Charlotte got juked.
I got one better, but I'm gonna let you finish, Ken.
There could be, but I'm just saying, like at that point, of course you don't know because Kobe's he's a baby. You don't
The
know.
Lakers knew. I guarantee you, the Lakers knew, and Jerry West, who was the GM, knew.
Well, at that point, you can't know. At that point, you think you know, and you're just hoping
he played with his dad. He'd been watching him since he was a teenager.
But nobody knows for sure. I mean, you could say people knew Derrick Rose was going to be this great, but nobody knew he would tear his knee up. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could see the talent, but nobody knew the full body of work that we will watch Kobe develop into and his legacy that he would build. We couldn't see that. Nobody could see that, right? But for Vlade, man, that has to be one of the most lopsided things. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking at with the Luka and AD things is not necessarily right now, but long term. When you look back, it's going to be a lopsided trade.
Yeah.
I think what Luka's going to end up doing, man, I don't think he's going to finish his career. He probably played maybe three years in LA, maybe. But I think he's going to go back to Slovenia and give up this NBA dream. I mean, because he sees the business part of it now. You know what I mean? And and the news has it that he bought a house in Dallas, and he got the new baby. He was all excited of just this coming up year. And he's getting through his injury, but all that was put to shambles when he got traded. So,
not quite in shambles. So, like Ken was saying, looking long term, they traded a 10-year future for a right now future. And
as far as the Mavs go, yeah, but the Lakers,
well,
I don't think
his contract is next year's guaranteed. He can opt out the following year.
Well, yeah, they said that he had mentioned that he's not signing long term with the Lakers right now. So there's a lot of possibilities up in the air. So that's going to be very interesting.
I mean, he may wind up back in Dallas, if all's forgiven.
Very well could.
But he may only get one season. It's like Dwight Howard only played there one season. But he can opt out. Now he won't get as much money. And if he signs the max extension, like I said earlier, it's $140 million less than what he would have got as a supermax. So they're saying he'll probably sign a 3-year contract that gives him 10 years seniority, and then he gets more. But there's a lot of teams loading up on draft pick and cap space and everything else, like they did for the Greek Freak. So there's a lot of trucks backed up to that driveway, just waiting for Luka to opt out.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna swing it over to you, Wild Dog. Is the Luka for AD trade is the worst trade that you've witnessed or heard, or what are your thoughts and what are your number one worst trade of this NBA century?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give privilege to the fan in me. I can be more cerebral later. And of course, right now, like Big Ken, said, we don't have the benefit of hindsight, but right off the cuff, this is the worst trade. The only other one I think that was more personable to me, and it happened before I was born, but when I later read about it, and I'm watching film, was the 1968. It was Lakers again when they pulled off to get the reigning MVP, Chamberlain.
Say it.
How in the world the reigning MVP, Will Chamberlain, perennially getting you to the finals? How do you do that? How and why do you do that? And then the huge gap, how long? What the crater that it created within the organization, the fan base, and how long it took to even come back around, getting Dr. J, and that wasn't enough to get us over the hump. Then bringing in Moses Malone. That's 2 decades, dog. That's
So
2 decades.
So I thought, Wild Dog, I thought you were going to talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he got traded after they won the NBA Finals. They traded him to the Lakers.
But he wanted out, is what I heard. But that's a rumor. But I can't remember him saying right out of his mouth. But Kareem was ready for a move. Him going to the Lakers was, it was just business. He was unmoved. He actually was looking forward to, LA, the Lakers, and looking back, he has absolutely no regrets. If anything, he would be like sooner.
Well, he played at UCLA, so yeah, that was home.
But again, he has the benefit of hindsight. We had the benefit of hindsight. I grew up a 76ers fan, and even before I was born, reading about it, learning about it later, Wilt Chamberlain reigning MVP to the Lakers still to this day rubs me the wrong way as a 50-year-old man. So, and in my opinion, even though Luka lost the finals with the Mavericks, if there was a Jerry West award, in my opinion, he was the best. He was the best player of the whole finals, of the whole playoffs. Excuse me. Data doesn't lie, and in my opinion, he was the best player within the finals. So if there was a Jerry West award, he should have got the MVP for the finals, and not just because you won makes you the most valuable player, or even the most valuable player of the show of the finals. That's my opinion. So if it was 2 or 3 years down the road and things weren't gelling and things weren't happening right, okay. If it was me, I would have been like, I can offer you Kyrie for AD, but I'm definitely not going to offer you the next 15 years of my franchise for Mr. Glass. I'm not. Just not. No. And whatever they want to say in hindsight about Luka, nobody's perfect. We all have our issues. The proof is in the pudding. So whatever you want to say in hindsight, it is what it is. And then AD's still out with something I saw abdomen. Okay. So I'm like, for all this hoopla, we could have just gone and got, Max Christie and been good. And been building up around.
Both of them hurt though. So I mean, Luka's been out since Christmas. So I mean, when we talk about
I'll take a hurt 25-year-old, bro.
I mean, yeah, but it to me, the Mavericks.
And then before I forget, we've been watching Luka since the summer of 2011. I don't surprise no one's talking about this. Donnie Nelson, we were having beers, celebrating the finals championship, talking about players. We're talking about Euro players. And I bring up this teenage kid who was looking to go pro. The Mavericks have been looking at Luka since 2011, since the summer of 2011, dog. It wasn't just some happenstance. Oh, he's coming to the draft. Let's look at him. No, this is how this developed. And Nico wasn't nowhere around. These owners weren't nowhere around. And MFFLs, this is the kind of stuff we talk about. 2012, 2013, 2015. Oh, look at this guy balling. Who's this young kid winning MVP of the Euro League? We had been watching him since the summer of 2011. This is the real facts. This is facts.
So, Mike, we have a special guest that wants to say something. You have to move over to where you can see yourself.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Mom.
Hi. I have been listening and I've been getting some stuff on my phone. And this morning I got a flash that they're talking about Mahone may not, he's fighting an injury. And I got to thinking about the timing. I got to thinking about the timing of this Luka deal. And I'm wondering if they have done that to take your thoughts and everything away from the Super Bowl because something's going on there that they don't want you to know about.
That could be a factor. Then I would probably have to and add you as our conspiracist expert.
Well, now you know why. Now you know why I'm a sports fan.
I see. Well, we appreciate that knowledge, and now a couple thousand people gonna see this. Appreciate you, Mom.
Well, I'm sorry to butt in, but that just went through my mind because everybody's talking about this Luka deal, and the Super Bowl is Sunday, and they're not saying anything about that, and that kind of makes me a little bit suspicious about what's going on.
You may have a point, though. I'm gonna have
I don't know. That's just an old lady's thinking.
It makes sense, though. It's not. It's a
good way for the NBA to still shine. It's a good way for it's a good way for the NBA to still some shine because no one would be thinking about the
85
NBA. 85
years young.
Yeah.
85 years young.
Yes, man.
Wow. So anyway, thank you for letting me voice that opinion. But I just, it just runs through my head, and I keep up with NFL and stuff and the football. And so when this popped up, I'm thinking, wait a minute. All of a sudden, there's no Super Bowl. Okay, what's going on? So that's just my idea, and for what it's worth, thanks for letting me pop in.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great evening.
You too.
So we had a truly, truly special guest there. So,
I know. And what are your thoughts on this whole trade? Is it the worst trade that you could think of, Bob?
So I have a couple. Definitely 100% worst trade ever. As I mentioned, the Abdul-Jabbar is the only kind of comp that I didn't think about Wilt Chamberlain. But here's one thing I thought about yesterday. I think the Mavericks may have determined that with Luka, that the team, not Luka, but the team ceiling number of wins for in the season was between 50 and a max of 55. And how many years did we win 50 with Dirk and losing the first round? 50, losing first round. We break through, win 57, go to the finals. Next year, win 60. So they may have thought, okay, we've capped out. This is as high as Luka can take us. And so they threw all their chips in the table and gambling. They gambled for a home run instead of a double. And I know we'll cover this later. I told you, Ken, I had one better than the Vlade Divac for Kobe. Y'all too young to remember this. Joe barely cares Carroll.
Who was that?
For Robert Parrish.
I know Robert
Parrish
pick
that turned into Larry Bird.
Oh, wow.
So Joe barely cares Carroll, who was a decent center, but he was nothing great. I mean, he might have been like Jack Sigma. For Robert Parrish and Larry Bird.
The Chief.
So that's my thing is that definitely when you have national news and national reaction, I appreciate Ken's comment. He's a Mavs fan, not necessarily a Luka fan, but Luka had, before he got hurt, he was leading the vote getting. He is a global brand. He's not just a Dallas brand. He's a global brand. So, him and Giannis at some point, we talked about this last week, Ken, the old guard is going to have to turn it over to the new guard. And so for the league, they love it. Whether it works for either team or not, they love it because now you got the face of the franchise is not LeBron or will at some point not be LeBron, but it will be Luka, and you got a global brand. Not just a U.S. brand, you got a global brand with one of the highest market, other than New York, one of the highest market teams. But when I really kind of looked at it after the emotions wore off, I think they looked at it and they thought, okay, we've got the players around Luka that he needs, but we're still, they were 19-10 when he got hurt, which put him on pace for 52 wins. And they were starting to cook, but I think they looked at it and said, that's all the better we're going to be there, and when he was drafted, a lot of people compared his game to James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously talked about LeBron. So, I mean, they have similar games, step back three, obviously. Luka's in the middle. I mean, you can't get away from LeBron's stats. But he's an improved version of Harden, basically. And, the closest Harden even sniffed the finals was the Western Conference Finals, and they were on their way until CP3 pulls a hamstring. So he's done more than Harden, and Harden, gets so if you look at it from that standpoint, they traded James Harden away, and look how many times James Harden has been passed from one team to the other. Oklahoma City gave him up for just draft picks and some cash, because they didn't want to sign him to a rookie extension. It wasn't even a max. It was just a rookie extension. And he wanted to go start somewhere. But so when you look at it from that, you take off your Mavs, your Luka cap, and look at it from outside of Mavericks fans, the national media is still, like Mom said, they're still talking about it 3-4 days later. That was last Saturday. So it's just, I think they saw the ceiling, or what they think the ceiling was going to be, and they didn't think that Luka, he could carry him. What they didn't anticipate was all the lashback from the fans. I don't think they took that into the account, because Wild Dog and I talked about this yesterday. Their merchandise sales, it's going to plummet. His Laker jersey, even if he only plays 1 year in LA, is already the #1 jersey. So, and Charles Barkley made this comment. He said, never ever in the 76 years of the NBA history has a top 5 superstar player been traded for another all-star player.
Dang. So let me ask you this, Ken. With Luka being with the Lakers, what is his probability of winning a ring with them? Is it, if you had to do it on a scale of 1 to 10, what would that rating be for him?
I don't think he's gonna win a ring with the Lakers, especially not with LeBron. Because here's the thing. Here's the problem. And see, this is my knock with Luka as a whole. You still have a guy who can get you points but can't defend. Now you got a couple of guys who really can't defend, because LeBron can't defend at the level that you need him to defend. So now you got 2 guys on the floor with similar skill sets offensively, but you might have to hide them defensively. So now you actually have a bigger problem. So you have to outscore your opponent. You have to. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to outscore your opponent if you're the Lakers. If they're not outscoring their opponent, they're not going to win. And I can't see them beating somebody in a series that way. It just don't work. And like Bob was saying, I think the ceiling, the Mavericks organization kind of saw the ceiling, because if you go back and you look at the Mavs in the finals, the Celtics picked on Luka. And that is the blueprint. If you want to beat the Mavs in a series, pick on Luka. Go at him. He can't stop you. And it wasn't just Tatum and Brown that were attacking him. You even had some of the lesser tier guys attacking Luka, and that's a problem.
So you think that if they added more defense, because I know what the Mavs had with Dirk Nowitzki, he was almost a defensive liability back in the days. But if they added, maybe, because like you said, those two would be kind of a defensive liability, especially with LeBron's age. But like what they had with Dirk, they had the bench was defensive minded. The 4 starters was defensive minded. Besides Dirk did his thing. He got rebounds and blocked.
But you can hide a big. You can't hide a perimeter guy.
Right.
You can't hide a perimeter guy. These perimeter guys in today's NBA are too good for you to hide somebody. They're going to switch. They're going to set picks. They're going to screen you to death. They're going to get that guy isolated, just like Boston did, and they're going to attack him. It's just that simple. I watch it every night. These teams do that night in, night out. And that's one thing that I can't understand because they switch everything. You don't see dudes fighting through picks and stuff like that too much where they switch everything. So it makes it easy to attack somebody.
Oh,
yeah, Ken, there's one other. That's an excellent point. There's one other thing that Boston did, and I I call it the triangle and two. They basically had one guy at the top and 2 big guys here, made a triangle, and let Luka into the paint. And then they had 2 covering the corner threes. So the guy at the top, where Luka liked to pass as an exit, that guy that let him in was there to intercept the pass, and the 2 guys on the corner were guarding the corner 3. And they never picked up on that. So, I mean, it kind of goes with your point. Not only did they switch, but they falsely encouraged, Luka to think, okay, I'm going to have an outlet on either side or behind me, and there wasn't. The defenders were glued to those passes.
And Bob, do you think? And we'll swing it to you. Will Luka in your opinion, win a ring with the Lakers? If you will, or if you will not?
No. If they don't win one this year, no. And then it goes along with, depends on how long LeBron decides he wants to play. He's saying 5 years. He's not talking about, the man's 40 and he's still balling. And like I mentioned earlier, Luka can opt out and become a free agent. So I think they got this year, and that's it. I mean, they made a trade with Charlotte to get Mark Williams, another center that they call Glass. He's only played like 100 games out of 200 and some odd. He's good. He's a lob threat, but they don't have the players around Luka, just kind of like Cleveland before all the trades didn't have the players around LeBron. So Lakers are 10 games above 500. I think they won last night, so they're 11 games above 500. Mm-hmm. So that puts you near 50 wins at the end of the year. They may be knocking on the door of the 4th or 5th seed. You're definitely not going to pass OKC. You probably won't pass Houston or Memphis. So the best they could do is the 4th seed. So it's not impossible, but I don't think they will. If they don't do it this year, that's it.
Gotcha. So being where they are as far as record-wise, it's just going to be hard to really play against, because they're right now, you're going to need to play the 4th or 5th seed, depending on where they fall at the end of the season. So that's going to be a challenge in itself. So they're looking to face off against Memphis.
And they traded away their 2 best 3-point shooters. The guy that you like, Dalton Neck.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
That guy's balling. He may win Rookie of the Year. I mean, because he's going to sign. It's Charlotte, but he's going to get a lot of volume shooting. And Max Christie. Everybody's like, Mavs should have got Austin Reeves, who started out in the G League on a 2-way contract, was a star on the Oklahoma Sooners. But I think Max Christie, after one game, was like, oh, okay, now I know why they got him. I separate the Max Christie and Grimes became expendable after they got him. But the thing I liked about Grimes, when you compared him to Josh Green, he could create his own shot.
Mm.
And I don't know, maybe that was a bailout for Caleb Martin. He's already on the injured list, but Caleb Martin had one great year and playoff run with Miami. We made a trade similar to that when we traded for Josh Richardson. But Grimes is a second team guy. He's the guy you bring in as the superstar point guard needs a break, so you bring him in and run the team. So they must see something in Jaden Hardy that said, okay, that's a luxury we don't need.
Gotcha. And Wild Dog, will Luka win a ring with the Lakers? Yes, in your opinion, is it a yes or no?
I'm just gonna lean on hindsight and what the Lakers do and what they've always done. And they brought in superstars and done everything they needed to do to win a chip. There has not been a superstar to come onto the Lakers, right? A mega superstar to come onto the Lakers that has not won a championship with them. That's just the history.
What about Dwight Howard?
So I'm leaning on history, And so Dwight Howard.
Was Dwight Howard a superstar at the time, or was he kind of falling down a little bit?
So, well, because look, so Dwight Howard carried the Magic to the finals and lost. So he had done that. He had carried a team on his back. He didn't win, but like Luka, who's carried a team on his back to the finals and lost. So, again, based on history, there hasn't been a megastar, someone who's carried their team to the finals and gone to the Lakers who has not won a championship.
So
now,
you
does he do that with LeBron or without LeBron? I can't say.
So you think they will win it or no?
My apologies. I think the Lakers will win one with Luka.
Okay. How many years will it take for them to do that?
Oh, I don't know. They might actually get a couple in. You really asked me. I think they'll get a couple in.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna mark that down. A couple of them on Wild Dog. In my opinion, I don't think they're gonna get one at all. I'm with the other two guys. It's just not gonna be. You gave away too much to even. You're gonna have to start all over again as far as building that team up, and it may take a few years. And you think about it, he's 25, so by the time he may get a good team around him, he'll be like 28. You know what I mean? 28, 29. That's gonna take a few years. And if they get lucky, they might get some good players in there. But it's just like what they're doing now. You're just building the face of the NBA, like y'all said earlier. It's something that is global now. That he's a recognizable face, and with that face, everybody in Europe know what happened in Dallas. You know what I mean? So it's no big deal to see that they're going to try to push forward and try to get something to market the league itself.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Mike. You bring up a good point, Mike, about he may be 28, 29, 30. They talk about his conditioning. You throw that aside. He gets beat up. He got beat up like Shaq, but he not quite as big as Shaq. By the time Luka's 30, I mean, LeBron, people bounced off of him. He's like hard cement rock and built. But Luka takes a beating. And you notice this year he didn't go to the rim for layups very often. So, Luka at age 30, and maybe the Mavs are looking at us, and there's something, maybe in the future we might know. I think there's more to the injury than what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But Luka at age 30, everybody wanted him to play 20 years, but like Ken was talking, Derrick Rose, look, he didn't play very long. Severe injury. Grant Hill, there's a whole list. TV franchise, Francis. There's a lot of point guards that, for one reason or another, they had a very brilliant start and then just faded right off.
Like Penny Hardaway. And to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier when Jet came through and showed us the Nico sign. Ken, do you think the Dallas Mavericks GM, did he do the fans like dirty or I know a lot of people still steaming from it. Even people who are not Mavs fans can't believe what he did. And there's so many conspiracy theories on it. But do you think what he did was something that's going to be written in stone as one of the dirtiest things that happened to the Mavs organization as far as the fans go?
Of course, the fans feel like they lost they lost their best friend. You know, and I mean, rightfully so. You're talking about a guy who's the face of the franchise. You know what I'm saying? And you trade him away. It's not even a off-season trade. It's a mid-season trade, right? So it's not even a fact of, okay, he decided not to sign and then he went somewhere else or anything like that. You traded him away, and the way it was done in such a secret fashion and just everything about it says it's a shady deal. Everything about it says it's a shady deal. So of course the fans have every right to be upset and feel the way they feel that they were done dirty. So I mean, you know, that's maybe he did what he needed to do, you know, business wise. But you know, of course, nobody cares about the business of the game. They're fans. They want to see the guy on the court. They fall in love with the guys and with the players. So their mindset is just totally different when it comes to that. So yeah, of course, the fans feel like they've been done dirty.
Dang. Me being a fan, yes, I don't feel like I was done dirty because I had my reservations on, like we talked about earlier, about his lack of defense, and sometimes he just beat the brakes out the ball that would annoy the crap out of me. And I got it. Yeah, I understood it because he was like the best player on the court. But still, like me and Bob, we pride ourselves on make sure that you pass the ball, move the ball. Even though he dominated the ball, he passed it pretty well. He gets you a triple-double, but good teams, they move the ball all the way around. Everybody touches it. Everybody, and that was evident when the 2011 Mavericks won it then. But that's one thing I didn't like about what he did. And I think, yeah, as a fan, it was kind of dirty, but I wasn't too upset about it. I was surprised, but I wasn't upset. Wildow, what are your thoughts, man? Do you think the Mavs fans were done dirty by the GM? And as Jet said, fire Nico, is that still the sentiment in your mind, or is it something that you can get over as the future as time goes on?
Oh no, absolutely, 1,000%. There was a poll done locally, and when I last looked at it, it was 100%, and over 10,000 votes. Would you rather? The poll asked, would you rather lose another finals with Luka or win one without him? And overwhelmingly, fans at this time, of course, emotions are high, would rather lose another finals with Luka than win one without him. Because again, if you're an insider, you've been around, the history goes, we've been watching Luka since the summer of 2011.
Man, them fans crazy.
Look, listen to the facts, listen to the information I'm giving you here, right? That's how long we've been following and nurturing Luka and building
I
up.
don't care. We could have given birth to Luka and watched him grow up. If we don't win a championship with that man in our uniform, I couldn't care less. I don't care less.
So that makes 99.9999999.
I want to win.
You want the ring. You'd rather have the ring than the player.
Facts.
So fans is plural. And then on the money side, we talked again about y'all hitting on the global aspect of Luka and how the impact for the NBA and the bottom line for the Lakers, that's money. How you can talk about Luka being money for the Lakers, but him not being money for the Mavs? That's a wash for me. That's a negative. That's a no. That's doing dirty on the money side on the bottom line too. Right? Now, when it comes to on-court performance, whether we're going to win or lose, hey, that's for debate. But let me go to identity. Let me go even further deeper to identity. Who are the Mavericks? We've had 4 different owners, different head coaches, different DMs, different people, different executives, different players coming in and out. But I'm still here, right? My son is still here. He's going to be here. Boogey Bob's still here. Boogey Bob and I went to games at reunion. We're still here. Owners come and go, players come and go, but it's us. And that's what Mark Cuban got as the governor. That he's just the caretaker. But that the Mavericks belong to North Texas, right? And when it comes to identity, who is the identity of the Mavericks? So who have been our successful franchise players? Whose numbers are hanging up in the rafters? You got Rolando Blackman from Panama, international player, recognized as an international global athlete in his day. Then we fast forward to Dirk Nowitzki from Würzburg, Germany. What is our identity? He takes us to the finals and loses. Why didn't we dump him? Then eventually, given another several years, we make it back to the show, and he wins us one. He get the hands off the torch to Luka, who we've been monitoring for several years already. We land him. Dirk and Luka get to play together, pass off the torch. Luka gets us to the finals and loses. Every single fan is like, we good. We've been here before. We got time with Luka. Whatever we got to do is shuffle. We gonna get us one with Luka.
And to your point, before. we did shuffle.
Is a global athlete.
Yeah,
Luka is a global athlete. He's recognized globally. Soccer's number 1, cricket's number 2, basketball's number 3. You go outside the United States, right? Luka's the face of the NBA. All-star voting, Luka's number 1 year after year. Because fan voting is done on the internet and all that stuff, and access, that's done globally. These is facts. This is data. So this is why we had the funeral. This is why we're mourning.
So they did
all of that is facts in our identity, the money, everything. The only thing at question is if and when we're gonna win a chip.
Facts. And I was gonna say this point to you. What you said earlier, that they did do some shuffling, which they did. They did actually add pieces around them. But the question is like, you know, why would they do that and infuriate the fans, which makes the GM look like he did them like they was not even important to the franchise in general, because we're paying all the bills, as you can see.
But it's not a day, it's a he.
Yeah. So Bob, your thoughts on this, man? You think that the Dallas Mavericks GM did the fans dirty?
Unequivocally, yes. And we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I've got some other notes, but let me circle back. As either Ken or Wild Dog mentioned this, the way the trade was pulled off, it has come out since that when they had coffee back in January, that him and Pelinka, and people discount relationships, and that's why they hired Nico. So Pelinka at the time, before Clutch Sports, Pelinka was LeBron's manager. The junior executive for Nike was Nico. So they've known each other for at least a decade, if not 2. And when Nico approached Pelinka, he's like, "You're kidding me." He said, and this come out on more than one source, like ESPN. He said, "Only you, me, and the owners can talk about this. No agents, no players," which we've known it's a players' league for years. You know, the players sign a big contract. They don't want to play there. They trade me. So the players have all had the power. And Anthony Edwards, I liked his response. He goes, "Man, I'm scared." He said, "If they can trade Luka, they can trade anybody." So single-handedly, because of like Ken was saying, single-handedly because of the way it was done, there's no trust. So like that kind of secrecy, not even involve the agents, who got as much vested interest as the player, because you know they lost money too. So unequivocally, yes. Some of the points that I also wanted to add, most people have talked about there's no bidding war, and single-handedly with this trade, the power in the NBA is now shifted to the owners. Harden forced his way out of Houston. He forced his way out of Brooklyn. He almost forced his, and then had other players sign contracts and forced themselves out of a team. That players are like, we don't have control anymore. So he single-handedly changed not just the Mavericks and Lakers, but the whole NBA. Who's got the power? It just shifted. But I will say this: I think it's dirty. Not just okay. Even if you're not a Luka fan, you're just a Mavericks fan. I've had season tickets 25 years. I've been following them since '85. So I've been a long time. Seen a lot of players come through. So like Ken, I'm a Mavericks fan. I'm wearing my finals shirt, playing flowers. But after this, so I mean, if you're a player, think about this. The player wasn't informed, neither one of them. And their agents were not informed. How you ever going to get a free agent to sign in Dallas? Even after Nico's gone, how are you ever going to get a free agent? They are not going to trust you at all. You could back up Fort Knox to the player, and they're going to go, you traded Luka, one of the top 5 players in the league. You might get a scrub, but we already had trouble getting free agents. DeAndre Jordan backed out, went to Houston. But that's the two dynamics people aren't talking about is player control has shifted to the owners now, 100%. And free agency in Dallas, forget it. The only way they're going to give it is give up draft picks and trades.
Let me ask you this question. I'm not quite sure when the CBA will be up as far as the last time it was signed. Do you think they're going to put some addendums in there that says you can't do certain things like that? Everything has to be on the table, out and open?
Yeah, they'll talk about it, whether it will pass. But the one thing, and this was one of my other thoughts after my emotions calmed down, Mark Cuban could have settled this even after he sold the team. He could have put a clause in the contract to ownership. You can only buy the team if you guarantee you'll never trade Luka. Or before he sold it, he could have altered the contract that he had with Luka and given him a no trade contract, no trade clause.
Okay, clause, yeah.
So Cuban, they ask him and he goes MFFL. So I'm sure he would have never traded him, but he could have taken care of that. He didn't foresee it. He wasn't looking ahead. We're talking about hindsight. Well, he didn't look forward thinking and didn't make it a part of the okay, I'll sell you a team, but you can't trade this guy, or at least put it in his contract.
But Mark Cuban is on record saying, if you had said, trade Luka or get a divorce, he said you would find him at his attorney's office. This was the quote from Mark Cuban.
I gotta find that quote and staple it on the post in our channel. So Ken, you've been witnessing a lot of trades throughout the years, and when LeBron, he wasn't traded, but he opted to go to Miami, and it made him a villain in so many people's eyes. Now, in reference to players being traded, does it have any bearings on them becoming a villain? And if so, what star players come to mind for you that became a villain after they were traded?
Well, I think it's not necessarily if they get traded. I think it's only if they requested the trade or they had negative behaviors which brought about the trade. I think those are the two biggest things that could, turn a guy into a villain. Right? Because if they in a situation like Luka, where he had nothing to do with it, he just woke up and got traded. Like, you can't be mad at that guy because he got traded, right? He had no control over that, right? So, I mean, to me, LeBron, rightfully so, because of the simple fact of, I mean, you joined up with guys, and we know from growing up in the 70s and 80s, the competition thing was a big deal, right? And not going to another superstar team and joining up with guys rather than saying, okay, I want to beat these guys, right? When you look at Cleveland, when you look at Miami, when you look at Toronto, they were all Eastern Conference teams. these were teams that you were playing against, and these were guys that you were trying to beat, and then you go and you team up with them. So, I think that was the biggest thing that turned LeBron into a villain at that point, because people didn't want to see that. People wanted to see, what I'm saying, these guys try to beat each other. And a lot of times people go back and they'll say, well, look at the Celtics when KG came, Ray Allen was there. But you're talking about guys on the latter end of their career, not in the prime of their career, not at, what I'm saying, like when they're playing their best basketball. So that's a big difference to me. You can look at it as a super team, but it's not the same. You're talking about 3 all-stars playing at the peak of their game, joining forces and promising multiple championships. And there was a lot of layers in that, what I'm saying. And the press conference was, I think, the thing that really cemented him as a villain. When you get up there in front of these people and you make these statements and you make these promises and you say these things and you don't follow through with them, that becomes an issue.
Dang. Yeah. And I everybody hated them at that time, and they didn't care. And it just like, hey, we got what we wanted. And that's when the league became more of a players' league at that time, where they had the power, where they could do what they want, go where they want, which I agree with that. Like, if you're playing street ball and you get you come with your homeboys, whoever hit the shots and you hit out there, you get the pick first, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna try to pick all your homeboys. That's how it goes. So I get it. I don't mind that. I think it's a benefit for the players to be able to play with who they want to play with. Waldo, your thoughts on that, man? If a player gets traded, does he become? Have you seen any star players become villains after they've been traded to a team?
I mean, it's a lot of times it's temporary. Because sometimes, especially back in the day, fans wouldn't have enough information, right? Or a player wasn't, being open or really giving any interviews, right? And then your team and your executives were the only ones doing the talking. So sometimes I think it's a bit of misinformation or even a lot of lack of information, which can really villainize a player, right? Even if they're innocent, Like, there's even a time when, like, we dealt with the whole Nash thing. We kind of been here before where we, lose a star player and get nothing in return. We should have worked something out before him becoming a free agent. He becomes a free agent, and then the Suns are going to do whatever they got to do, to make sure they beat whatever, Mavericks, counteroffer was going to be. And then it was just a done deal. It was just not very good. And so, it was a fumble. It's a mishap. Mark Cuban came out saying, "Hey, I dropped the ball. I'm sorry, guys. Mark's a great owner for us. He's one of us owning the team." But of course, we got Dirk's lost his best friend. we lost our magic man. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you this. I haven't said anything about this to anybody like in public. But the first game,
we're all friends here, so we'll keep it amongst ourselves.
Hey, I'm on a podcast and with you brothers, and I'm retired, so here we go. The very first game, Nash returned to the American Airlines Center, and he's coming out, and I'm like, man, we can't have our fan base torn. We can't, you know what I'm saying? Are you going to pick Cuban or are you going to pick Nash? We got to, Mavs fans, MFFLs, we got to stick together, And in that moment, I'm in the Maniac stand, and I just look to my left, and I say, "Take the cash, Nash." and my guys elbow me. I look to my right. I say, "Take the cash, Nash." And then it started. Take the cash, Nash. Take the cash, Nash. Take the cash, Nash. Take the cash, Nash. It ain't Nash's fault, but he had to play the villain. he had to be the villain, you know, to help us heal and move forward. You know,
with his group of superheroes with him, Amari Stoudemire, man, it was, oh my God.
And look, I carry the weight. I carry the weight for me to this day. And if and when I run into Steve Nash, I already apologized to Dirk, but if and when, and I'm, you know, and if and when I run into Nash, I will pour out my heart in a true, authentic apology. It's literally, I'm just curious. It's, you know, I'm supposed to travel light, but that is some weight on me. You know what I'm saying? You know, I was able to let some of it go with Dirk. I said, man, Dirk, let your guy know. It's like, dog, you're all right. I understand. And, you know, this is nothing. And so, but I never had the chance to even see Nash again. You know, it was a regular thing. I used to get a call to come hang out with Dirk and Nash after games. We used to hang out at the Bar of Soap. And folks been around Dallas long enough. What was it? The Bar of Soap all the time. This is someone I hung out with that I'd gotten to know. You know, Nash would bring me my extra tall, you know, Cape Cod, you know, in a mason jar, right?
And then
Dirk, like, buddy on my other shoulder. You know what I'm saying? So this is not, and this is why sometimes it's personal. Like even with Luka, it's personal because I was in there, I was there, and then Math Fans for Life. This is who you share this kind of information with, and I did it to my guy. I did it to my own guy.
Dang.
Somebody who was good at me. I did it to my own guy.
Boogey Bob. You know, I have one villain that, and you might have this on your radar. One guy I know for sure that reveled in that villainhood was Meta World Peace. So I don't know if that would be a person. He's not like a star per se, but in your opinion, what stars that were traded became villains that were more notable in your thought process when it comes to?
Well, I've kind of got a short answer, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mom. She's been chomping at the bit while the whole time Wild Dog was talking. She couldn't wait for Wild Dog to finish so she could chime in. It depends on the player. It depends on the team. And more importantly, it depends on how invested is that person into the player. Are they watching basketball because they like their local team, like Ken said, or are they watching basketball just because they love? And Wild Dog and I, you know, we're selling like, hey, you want to go to the game? Who they playing? We don't care. The tickets we're giving you are free. Like, well, who are they playing? And you know, the NBA is a star-driven league, so I think it depends on the player, the team, and how invested the fans are as to whether there's an vitriol. LeBron fans, they follow him no matter where he plays.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are villains. You love them or you hate them. There's no in between.
Haters are going to hate, you know. And there might be quite a few less season ticket holders next year. I guarantee you, those that cancel their season tickets, they're still going to be Luka fans, even though we hate it. I'm like, why didn't he go to the Spurs? Like, they hated Lakers. Like, I mean, if you out of all 32 teams, the Lakers, you're going to trade him to the Lakers. I mean, only worst team would be the Celtics. But my mom's got something to say.
All righty.
Sorry to butt in again. I definitely think it was a raw deal. I think Luka got a raw deal. It was not right. The whole thing was not right. But I was watching the game the other night, and one of the players that has been traded for, I don't know his name, but his numbers was 00.
Max Christie.
Max Christie.
Okay. He's short, He's shorter than some of the other players.
Mm-hmm.
But he made 4 3-pointers, and one of the 3-pointers was almost from the free line, from the middle line.
Oh, from half court.
Yeah. One of the 3-pointers was almost from mid-court.
Mm.
And so even though it was a bad deal, and I don't know whether the Lakers fans are upset about it and if he was one of the stars, but as Luka came on the team, y'all wasn't really hep on him. He had to earn his own way, and he got into your hearts.
But he came as a superstar from the Euro League, so it wasn't that bad of a transition for us to start with
and so the guys that were traded are having just as bad a time as the ones that we traded. But I think this guy, even though he was traded and he was a Laker, there is a good chance that he may become another star for the Mavericks. I mean, how many of the players make 3-pointers from mid-court?
Yeah, it's quite a few of them that can do it, but they don't do it in the game a lot. But I can see what your point is, though. He could be. You never know, because when I first thought about him, he reminded me a lot of kind of like Allen Houston almost, but a longer version. You know what I mean? He's not as tough as Allen Houston because I haven't seen a lot of him play as far as games wise, but he reminds me of Allen Houston a lot.
Yeah. So I know it's very bad the way the deal went down, and I feel for all of them that were involved. But the fans have to realize that it was emotional for everybody, not just the fans. And that these new guys that are playing with the Mavericks need to be given some grace to see how they fit into the team and if they will work with them. It seemed like that guy was working with them and had confidence in the other players. That's the way I felt when I was watching it. I was thinking that he kind of fit into the team because he had the confidence that he could do what he did, and they let him do it, and that was giving him a chance to show that he was a team player. So I'm with y'all as far as the trade deal went. I think it's just wrong.
Yeah.
But we've got to look at the ones that the Lakers traded. They're kind of, the fans are probably mourning them and everything in the deal, just like we are.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you. Your point.
We need to, we kind of need to give the guys a chance. You know, we may not like it, and we may not like the powers behind, you know, like the managers or whoever made the trade. We might not like them, but let's don't take our not liking them to the players that we acquired.
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
We appreciate you chiming in. We're definitely it's gonna post. So people gonna see your salty senior t-shirt.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Your t-shirt.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to butt in, but that's, you know, I watched the game the other night, and he kind of caught my eye, and when he made that 3-pointer from almost half court, I was just like, oh wow. You know, he's just a little bitty guy. He can go underneath the arms of the others. And so I was kind of rooting for him.
Oh, yeah. We appreciate you chiming in. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Big Mike, I got a little show and tell.
And one thing I'll add to what she said, which actually is what Ken started the show with. It's a team game. It's not an individual game. So Luka made it an individual game. They came to see him. But we kind of, in all this, we kind of forgot it's a team game. And even though they were like 7-14 since Luka's injury, the ball moved a lot and stuck. you know, when
And
Luka's
to
on the
your
court,
point,
it
Bob,
sucks.
if you think about it too, the times that they lost, a lot of those games, even I think 80% of those games, we were up in double figures.
We were up and we lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
So I from that perspective, maybe you don't have a superstar talent, but you might have a true team, not an individual and people around you, but you got a true team.
Well, like
And we're gonna
Shaq
stick with
says,
you.
you got to have the others. So that's why I
Yeah.
kept talking about it's a good thing. We get an opportunity to stretch the bench and let the guys get minutes and in-game action. I felt like it would be a benefit for the team overall upon Luka's return because, yeah, you say, I don't believe Luka plays me ball. That's just my opinion. And I feel like, especially with his assists and him willing to give the ball up and them even willing to set aside and work it out with Kyrie, and he'd be like, no, you take the lead on this play or whatever. It was a dynamic and cooperation. But like a lot of times, Bob, we'd be watching the games. Would you hear me say, stop watching TV? I'll be shouting, stop watching TV. If you're not looking at Kyrie, you got to move without the ball. But you're just waiting for them to do something, make something happen. You got to stop watching TV. So when you got Kyrie down and Luka down, and you got to stretch out the bench, and guys got to, show what they can do, and kids seeing what they're made of, to me, I thought this is wonderful. So when our stars come back, it's less likely that these guys are going to watch TV. They're going to be forced to do what they're capable of doing. They're going to be asked to do what they're capable of doing.
As a coach, we used to call you can't be on the team and be a spectator.
Exactly.
You either play or you sit on the bench, but don't go in the game and be a spectator. And that's a lot of times that's what it was with Luka. So
I was going to ask you this question, Bob, and this is the owner is from Las Vegas, and the rumor has it is that all this was put into motion to devalue the franchise and possibly move it to Las Vegas. You think the Mavericks will up and relocate to Las Vegas if the franchise loses a lot of value and it's not as worth as it is as now? What will it be in the future?
I give it 75% So my answer is no. Adam Silver's tired of transferring one team from city to city, and he's unequivocally said, we won't do that anymore. We'll expand before we move a franchise. So Vegas, we've been saying this when you've asked me about the in-season tournament. I said it was all about revenue and establishing a market and getting people prepared to have a team in Vegas. And I'll give you, when they got the Vegas Golden Knights, just to give you some numbers, we're talking the very top seat in that arena. One game is $250 to $300 per game.
That's date money right there for these new generation women.
Well, people not only go to a Vegas Golden Knights game that put on basically a Vegas show before the game. They got to stay in a hotel, which means they're going to be in a casino, which means they're going to gamble, which means they're going to spend money, and on top of all that merchandise. Vegas, will they get a team? Probably. More than likely, it's going to be an expansion. It won't be Dallas because the Houston owner is also a casino owner. Sabotaging the Mavericks won't produce legislation to approve gambling because the voters have already said, even if it's on the ballot, they're not going to vote for it.
You're talking about as far as gambling in the state?
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I think it wouldn't hurt the state. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't hurt the state.
Marijuana wouldn't hurt the state.
You got WinStar and Choctaw paying these politicians big money to keep it off the ballot. So I don't think the Texas voters would vote it in. You had to move a mountain just to get the lottery approved, and there's still a distaste about that.
So let me ask you this question. Could it be because we're in what's called the Bible Belt?
Yeah, we used to be in the Bible Belt. I think we succeeded from the Bible Belt, though, the way Texas and its taxes have gone lately in some legislation, like Oklahoma and Missouri and Arkansas and New Orleans. I think they're still in the Bible Belt, but I think Texas just broke away from that. But that's a whole another subject. I think the important part here comes down to the commissioner. If Adam Silver allows that to happen, then what does that see as him as a commissioner, and what are all the owners that have to vote a majority for it to be approved? If Commissioner Silver allows that to happen, the vitriol, as you mentioned, the hatred, the villain that we've been talking about with Luka, you can multiply that by whatever number you want to use, because then, I mean, like this, no player feels safe. But what city is going to give you $500 million to build a stadium when the commissioner, just because some gambler wants to move or some other person wants to move a team? Think about Charlotte. They lost their team, they got one back. New Orleans lost their team, got one back. Seattle still hadn't got their team back because they wouldn't build a stadium. But when you're spending $500 million to $1 billion or $2 billion just to build a stadium, and then the payroll and the investment, and when they forced the Clippers previous owner to sell. So Elon Musk, if he buys a team, like what is he going to move the Spurs to Austin or something? Or so if that was their motive, I think Commissioner Silver has a big problem on his hands, especially if it gets approved. I think it comes back more to they looked at it, even if Luka grow, that they were maxed out. They weren't going to get any better, so they swung for the fences. But if Silver approves that, we'll get another team. I mean, Cuban's got $3.5 billion in the bank and still 37% interest. So, in the WFAA interview with Joe Trahan, he made a good point. He said, Addison and Dumont, they're not from here. Nico is not from here. And he said they don't have any vested interest. So some people may look at them as outsiders. He said, but devaluing, he said the Mavericks to them is just a piece of their inventory, is what he called it. He said it's just one of their, many, they own the Sands Hotel and some other stuff. So to them, it's just an asset. There's no emotional involvement with them from that standpoint.
That's probably why it was so easy for them to agree with what Nico was proposing.
Well, they already as soon as the transfer went through last year, they couldn't raise the season ticket price immediately. But I can tell you the playoff tickets last year, all the way to the finals, we paid not 2x, not 3x, but 4x what we used to pay. So there was no advantage to being a season ticket holder anymore. There was no perks. And then when renewal came up, ticket prices went up 20% for the cheap seats, and even higher for the floor seats. So, it always comes down to this.
No, thanks. So, Wild Dog, what are your thoughts on if the Mavs will move to Las Vegas due to the new ownership and what we stated earlier that there won't be any gambling in Texas just yet as far as casinos? Will that be a factor of them moving, or is there something else that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, this has been in the works for a long time. gambling in Texas is, not a new, prospect. But as far as the sports teams being involved, I mean, that's been talked about for the last 20 years. Even positioning themselves, the Cowboys, the Mavs and Stars and everything, and especially some of the expansion in Frisco, everything's lined up for the potential eventual approval of gambling in Texas. Just a matter of time. It's a matter of when. But when you're a businessman, when you're billionaires, this is the kind of projects you have to have ongoing, and you have to have the real estate and be positioned for it. Now, as far as moving the Mavericks to Vegas, again, my understanding from the commissioner's office is expansion, that Vegas would be expansion. And so with having games in Vegas, having the cup in Vegas, having the aces like trickling up before you go to make a big bite investment, the sports industry is established in Vegas. So everything is primed for expansion. Now, as far as moving the Mavericks, look, after this Luka trade, I cannot say no. I would have to give it a higher percentage of possibility because why would you do that? But then you got Dallas, which is a number 4 sports market. Again, number 4 sports market. If anything, you'd be adding a pro team or semi-pro team to the North Texas. You wouldn't be taking a team away from us because we're, again, the number 4 sports market in the country. So that wouldn't make any sense. But again, the Luka trade doesn't make any sense to me. So why would you just do a lose-lose? If you can do it because you don't care. And then let me finish with this. Now, with the sale, the majority sale, not the complete sale, the majority sale of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban and his ownership group did a wonderful job. Okay? The way things were set up, this new ownership, it's too easy. All they had to do was nothing. All they had to do was nothing. On cruise control. Just on cruise control to a $5 billion evaluation. But if you want to mess it up and jack it up, well, you a billionaire, you're insulated. Worst case scenario, you're still good. The world could be ending. You're still good. You're on Mars, you're on the moon living somewhere. But that's the situation. If you want to be a goober and mess it up, you can. Again, if you want to be a goober and mess up a $5 billion evaluation that was on cruise control, you can do that. A team that was just off the finals, right? You give away you give away the franchise player and then look to move them to Vegas. You can do that. But it's all goober moves. It all neon flashing lights goober. And I called that the other year. And let me show you, my son got a Luka jersey for Christmas. Like many young folks, like many people got Luka jerseys for Christmas. And with respect, again, I'm a Mavs fan for life, but the climate is this. This is the trend.
Dang.
So we have to be careful. We have to respect it. And this is what my son wore to school yesterday. And this will be wearing to the game tomorrow.
Dang.
Rockets versus the Mavs.
Gonna be a great game.
Like Boogey Bob said, you can't have it both ways. We know it's a superstar-driven league. Luka's top 5 global, along with footballers. It is what it is. So expect to see a lot of Doncic Laker jerseys at the Mavs games and around town.
Damn. Big Ken, our final thoughts on this one, man. Will the Mavericks move to the Las Vegas? If they do, what would be the reasonings why they would move? Because I know we touched on a little bit of conspiracy theories, and there's no gambling in Texas. But if you can shed some light on this topic, what would your thoughts be?
I don't think they will move. Like Boogey Bob said earlier, I think if anything, Las Vegas might get an expansion team. But I think to move Dallas, and the commissioner's not a dummy either. Dallas is a growing market still. And it has been a budding market for probably the past decade or so, or more, a couple of decades really. So I mean, although we can't get some of the huge superstars and megastars and things like that, it's still a great area. And quite honestly, the real estate here is more attractive than some of the teams. So with these guys being big on business, they're moving here. A lot of these players are actually moving here, and they stay here and they live in this area in the off season. So that
100%. They have homes here. They do business here. Shaq's here every
yeah,
month. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So,
I'm saying Shaq's here every month on business, and they own real estate here. They do business here. They're always coming through.
Yep. So I don't see any of the franchises that we have here leaving, going anywhere else, but I do see that there's a likelihood that Las Vegas gets an expansion team. So I mean, and that's just the way I see it. I don't see any reason why you would want to uproot the Dallas, professional basketball team and put it somewhere else.
Facts. I agree with you too. I don't see it's no way. I've read an article somebody put out there stating that it's very impossible for that to happen because there's so many factors and it has to be approved by all owners anyway. So I don't see how they can actually uproot a team that's this successful and, like Wild Dog said, in a top 4 market when it comes to sports. So yeah, the Mavericks going to stay here, and I'm gonna still root for them no matter what. Because yeah, like you said, Kim, I'm more of a fan of the team than I'm a fan of a player. I like some of the players, but I have my favorite player all the time, which is Chris Webber. But in general, my favorite team is always going to be Mavs, win, lose, or draw. So that's where we got as far as this household goes.
Facts.
So this has been another great podcast, guys. I appreciate y'all coming on. Wild Dog, closing out, man. Where can the people find you at on these social media streets, man?
Hey, like always, I try to be a good dog. Don't get in too much trouble. So you can find me on YouTube at Wild Dog 357. Again, doing sports commentary here at Swish for Real, and doing, all kind of college sports, college football a lot. So again, that's Wild DOGG 357 on YouTube. Swish for Real, baby.
Boogey Bob, since you didn't talk much, you had your mom's filling in. She did way better than I expected. Where can we find her on these social media streets?
We just might have to create a YouTube channel. Maybe call it Octogenarian Sports Fans.
That Salty Senior shirt she had on was pretty good. I'm not use that
one.
Sports.
I mean, she posts on Facebook a lot, so
she'll have this to post for sure.
You could find her. I'll hook. Anybody wants to contact her, I can hook you up somehow.
Thanks.
You can catch me at Boogey Bob on YouTube, but most importantly, subscribe right above Ken. Swish for Real.
Go that way. Hey, yo, Ken, man. Salute to you, brother. It's always good, man. You chiming in, man. You bring such an energy, man, and you have that lightheartedness and knowledge at the same time, and you make the show even more better, man. My co-hosts go hard, and now you go hard too, man. Let the people know where they can find you in these social media streets.
Man, I appreciate you all having me on as usual, man. I have such a good time. Anytime Mike hits me up and asks me about being on the show, man, I can't say no. So I always count me in, man. I appreciate the opportunity, y'all, for real. You can catch me at Big Ken on Fiyah on all social media platforms. You can also catch me on the Fiyah Session, FIYAH Session on all social media platforms. We go live every Tuesday. We talk about different topics. We interview different people. We talk about business. We talk about real estate. We talk about what's going on in the news. We talk about a little bit of everything. We try to mix it up. And as I always say, we like to put the medicine in the candy. We're going to give you something sweet, but we're going to educate you at the same time. So tune in, check us out, and enjoy. Again, I appreciate you all having me on, man. Swish for real.
Nah, for real. And guys, I always try to chime in on the Fiyah Session because they be talking some good stuff, man. And what's her name? Trish Michelle. I like listening to her. She's pretty dope, man. She holds her own for sure, man. She don't bar none. I like listening to her.
A lot of the guys like tuning in to watch Trish Michelle too.
And so Tuesdays at what, at 7, right?
Tuesdays at 8:30 Central. 8:30? Yeah, 8:30
Central Standard Time. Guys, if y'all see this, man, I'm telling y'all, it's a great show. I like chime in, let them know that if y'all chime in, hashtag Swish for Real sent us here, that can know that, hey, we are supporting him, man. And as much as I can get on there, I'm going to try my best to chime in as many times as I can to show my support for my people, man.
We appreciate it.
And it's been real, man. I thank y'all again for coming on. I give y'all back y'all night, y'all weekend. Swish for Real, man. This has been truly a great show, man. Luka, good luck in LA, man. We are out. Peace, fellas.
That's it, Purring. That's it.